Yeah, greetings to the body of the people. Welcome to People of God. We're already broadcasting on Blog Talk Radio, and now we're live on Facebook. And so I accidentally turned the fan on when I was trying to turn the overhead light on, so that's a bit annoying. But it doesn't really matter. We're just telling you how it is. If you found us, you are at the bottom line. You are at the bottom of every rabbit hole. You've reached the only point where any logical, rational solutions to what we already know is happening. That's where you've reached. You've reached the point where there's nothing else to do but take action about what we are discussing on this broadcast. So we've got always got these stupid technical issues because I mean it makes sense because it doesn't it doesn't uh, follow any sort of logic to think that these DARPANet apparatus that we're using are going to be easy. That they're going to make it easy for us. That they're not going to censor us. I mean, it's they just go ahead and delete what we put out there. They'll cancel our accounts. Whatever. They'll do it all. They'll do it all. Uh, that being said, we're gonna fight back in every sort of way we can, and that includes uh, the the economic and the military um, infrastructure that belong to us, the people of God, we the people, and we go through this every week, so it just only makes sense. It's good to repeat things over and over again, not give anyone any excuses. So, what we know is that God creates man in his image, male and female. That's mankind, and mankind is given dominion over over the earth. Everyone knows that. That's what it's I mean, it can't be anything else. except except these jokers out there now think that government, the mind control apparatus created by man to exclusively benefit man, now they believe that this government, this apparatus that is a two-dimensional creation of man, now controls man, which is absolutely utterly absurd. Everyone knows that. So hey everybody out there, please click like, please share, or don't. It doesn't really matter because again, you're at the bottom of every rabbit hole. Any other information, it's meaningless. It really is absolutely utterly meaningless because they're not discussing the most important issues facing humankind. And it's not just humans because everything now is in the balance. I remember a number of years ago all these warped individuals, and they warp everyone. That's their number one goal. And I'm discussing the adversary, the synagogue of Satan, the government apparatus. When I say they shall and will do everything they can to warp everyone, to make their brains mush. But anyway, getting back to making brains mush, many folks, I would say it was a trend, and it probably still is a trend today. Um, that folks wish to um, hasten the downfall of humankind and that would be better for the earth. Doesn't make any sense to me in any kind of way. However, what they're doing now is they're making plans to kill everything, to kill absolutely everything on planet Earth, and they are doing it right in everybody's face. And what they're doing, say, the official lie is the official story, and that's the end of the story. Coronavirus is not patented in the United States. That's their lie, and their lie turns out to be, when one looks and to attempt to get to the bottom of it, that is the coronavirus patent, not the coronavirus patent. I mean, that's what I do. I look into things. So when I see the fact that there is a patent for the coronavirus, and verify that the patent is not fake, that it is not for just a one type of coronavirus that's not COVID-19, as soon as one makes out that all the easy explanations for why that is completely innocent, which there really aren't any easy explanations. Once all that is eliminated, hey, thank you, Lori. Thanks, because that's what I was getting ready to do right now, was share it to my other Facebook. Well, I shouldn't even say that. The backup channels, because we have backups of backups of backups. That's part of what we do all the time, and then some of those backups, they just disappear. It's not enough time to just back up everything while we're doing important work, and then attempting to show everyone, find them, give them a place, lead the horse to water, drag the. And I mean, no offense to horses, to compare horses to human beings. Horses are much more perfect beings than humans. And notice I say humans and not man, because man is made in God's image, and we're going to show a lot of differentiation and discernment. That is the only thing that is keeping mankind down, is discernment, bad decision making, being warped, and then also just saying, well, I'm warped and I'm not going to do anything to unwarp myself. I'm going to relish my warpedness. That's what the average human being is saying. A man is saying, how can I constantly improve? How can I, as a flawed individual, a sinner, how can I make myself better? But everyone seems, not everyone, nearly everyone, to be exact, seems to wish to wallow in their warped society. So let's get to some stuff, because there's a few things I like to cover that are important to me, that I've put out there in my daily work, and some of the most important of those things I wish to discuss further on this broadcast. So I want to get into some 5G stuff. I wish to get into some major thoughts and beliefs regarding the food supply, and most especially the lives of innocent animals wasted for obviously some sort of, everything is always ritualistic. Every action is ritualistic. Every action of mankind is ritualistic. So this is obviously these poor animals who are in innocent, defenseless, are being slaughtered, and there's no explanation for it at all. Not, oh, people need to eat. Meat has protein, and I don't buy any of that stuff. We stick to the Genesis instructions from God because we like the original source. We like the original man of God. We like the original people of God. Um, so, in any event, we're going to cover that extensively. And so, it looks like we got a number of folks listening at this point. So, I guess I'll get to the title and description of tonight's show. It's a brief description. People of God, coronavirus response to time of revelation. So we're living in the time of biblical revelations, and it is obvious for all to see that that's what's going on. That's the explanation. Lawfully saving innocent lives and smiting the synagogue of Satan and their corona mind controlled zombies. The most important information of the week and the torture of animals and humans, exposing the usury system. The economy is fraudulent in every way. We're going to cover Ronan Farrow, Jessica Collins, Joe Biden, DC Madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, Robert Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, Mossad, blackmail network. And just to get that out there, because that's the end of the description, Ronan Farrow is the mainstream's cover up artist, in my opinion, because I have proof now about what's going on with the Mossad human trafficking operation. I mean, the CIA, Mossad, GRU, MI6, um, uh, FSB, uh, whatever what FBI, DEA, ATF, they're all part of it. The state police, Maryland State Police, Virginia State Police, everybody's involved. Accomack County Sheriff's Department. I mean, but like, I don't want to go through and start naming all these different locations because all the police departments are in a subsidiary position to the FBI and the CIA, and they're all subsidiary to the Mossad, who blatantly run these human trafficking operations in plain sight, in public, and then there comes the point where it's so done out in the open that they can't deny it anymore. So in come the cover stories. That's the way everything works. So I'll cover my little and maybe even play for you my little discussion with Ronan Farrow because he's been calling Jessica Collins, who we regularly have on this broadcast, and asking no questions, only questions to dismiss things, unless, I mean, I could play devil. I'm not going to play devil's advocate, but I could give this individual the benefit of the doubt and say, oh, well, maybe he already knows information. But if he knew anything about this case, he asked all the wrong questions. And I have not heard the audio of the conversation, but according to Jessica, this guy's asking all the wrong questions. So, as someone who is exposed Jeffrey Epstein before Ronan Farrow has, and not just on these little, not that these are little. This is better than all of my interviews combined on Press TV or Al Alam TV or Al Attajia TV or on local television networks. Or I mean, I'm just saying Um. Okay. So so I've said this stuff. So when I say I've exposed Jeffrey Epstein before Ronan Farrow was there, it's not. It's other folks calling me up, news organizations calling me up to hear my opinion, to get my thoughts on things. So I gave my thoughts on Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Mossad blackmail operation earlier than most other folks, and nobody was really asking me about it when I did it. Nobody was really asking me about it. They just were like, "Well, he'll say a lot of stuff. Let's see what he has to say." Sometimes, they didn't wish to, do anything but broadcast the information live because it frightened them. And I'm talking about Press TV, Al Alam. That's all they do is broadcast my information live. I've never seen it anywhere else reproduced by anyone other than myself. But that reaches 300 million folks around the Middle East. But in any event, the information's out there, so I'm calling this guy like, hey, you're the guy that is the go-to guy. I'm talking about Ronan Farrow when it comes to these Mossad blackmail operations, human trafficking, underage sex rings, whatever. That guy Ronan Farrow, he's the one that goes on Colbert. He's the one that goes on Good Morning America. He's the one that's on CNN. He's the one that's on all the networks. Ronan Farrow. So greetings, David, and I see Jessica's watching. Greetings. Anyone wishes to call in, anyone who is is welcome to call in knows how to do it. So we'll just leave it at that. So I'd be happy to have any phone calls from anyone who is welcome to call in. And if that's the case, you know how to do it. So I'm not gonna broadcast out there a way for other folks to get in there. If you do wish to get on and you don't know how, I mean, you can really figure it out. It's kind of a filtering process, all of this. But getting back to Ronan Farrow, there's easy ways to find out the information about Joe Biden and his connections to uh, yeah. Jessica says he Ronan Farrow only called so he could say he investigated my claims. Yeah, I mean, I I wouldn't say like only because he said certain things to you that were unnecessary for him investigating the claims. So let hey, thanks, David. Yeah, hey, if you're listening, um yeah, we're trying to make it so you can't listen without, for free, but have not been able to properly do that yet. So, hey, please donate. You can donate through PayPal at RVA, the number four piece at gmail.com. RVA, the number four piece at gmail.com. So, getting back to, and thanks for the posts and the comments, Jessica. So, and David. So there is again, there is investigations that can be done through bank accounts and through particular uh, airport information. You can't travel around from the United States to Mexico. You can't give somebody a check or a money order or withdraw money or anything like that without there being some sort of documentation. So they know where to find that. So in any event, Jessica let me know that this guy Ronan Farrow called her. So we just started discussing things, and I got to the point where I was like, "Well, did he ask what the name of the resort that you state that you and Joe Biden stayed at?" And she said no. and I said, well, that's interesting. Well, at first I asked, did you tell him the name? And then she said, well, he didn't ask. And I said, okay, well, he should have. I mean, that's like, this is like basic investigation. Like how I got suspicious when I was talking to the same individual, as you know, Jessica Collins, um, who has been trafficked by the intelligence agencies verifiably and in any in almost any sense of the word, nearly exclusively by intelligence agents and agencies. When she got what I believe to be framed for a DUI, I first said, "Well, did were you in your car or near your car when they allegedly arrested you for your alleged DUI?" And she said no. And I said, "Well, that's the first thing that any DUI lawyer would do." But instead, her, hired by a CIA agent lawyer, I call him Intelligence Agent Joe, because that's his real first name, and his first and last name is out there. You can find it. So, so, you know, I'm saying like it doesn't make any sense if this guy is legit. The his defense is going to be exclusively, well, you weren't in your car, but he's trying to convict you every time you talk to him. You weren't in your car. You weren't near your car. You didn't state you were driving. It seems somebody else was driving, but yet this guy, he couldn't go anywhere near that in the discussion. Didn't make any sense until you know how everything works. That everything is a fraud, and all these individuals involved are criminal. And so I called up Ronan Farrow, and I'll try to play this. I don't know if we can get it to play. And he's very polite. He is, and I've already said what I've said about him. So if you think that I'm big up in Ronan Farrow, listen to what I said. I think he's the cover up guy. But that being said, very polite, very likable, excellent demeanor, and he would have to be. He has to be likable. He has to be polite, very polite. So he asked, "May I ask who's calling?" Certainly. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a journalist, and I stopped myself and said, "I'm a man who's also a journalist. Either I'm called Chris Dorsey or my name is Chris Dorsey." I don't remember exactly what I said. We'll play it. And then, and then I stated the reason for my call, that I got information that he was in contact with Jessica Collins, and of course I wish to know the first thing. First things first, to get to the bottom of things. How'd you come across this information? How do you know Jessica Collins? How do you know who she is? What information do you have about her? You've contacted her, as have a lot of other individuals. Mainstream media. Why? And the first thing he says, something to the effect of, "Can this be off the record?" And I immediately respond, "Certainly not." And then he says, "Well, I can't talk." And I'm like, "Well, okay. Well, I'm saying this because of my experience with the Mossad, and the Mossad is running all these operations, and it's intelligence agencies that are running these human trafficking operations. And I should have said, but I did not. I should have said, but did not, that the same agencies, they are the ones that make you, well, this guy was a millionaire from his parents, even though it seems Frank Sinatra is his father, certainly not Woody Allen. I mean, come on. That's a joke. I mean, that's an absolute joke. Clearly, his father is Frank Sinatra, not Woody Allen. He looks exactly like Frank Sinatra and nothing like Woody Allen. So, that being said, that being said, um, they work together. All these agencies work together. The intelligence agencies run the human trafficking. I mean, I should have said to him, but it's understood that the through Operation Mockingbird, I've been talking about that for dozens of years. Well, maybe like 2 dozen years. Operation Mockingbird, the CIA run operation that controls all the media in the United States. So that what else is there to say out there about this? I mean, Joe Biden, the DC Madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, the blackmail Mossad network. That's how everything runs. And and that was one of the last major news events, you know, I guess the cover up of this before the coronavirus. That was the biggest story before the coronavirus, I would say, is the Epstein network. That's my opinion at least. So, you know, anybody wish to discuss that or anything else, yeah, feel free to call in. But then let's get to some of what's going on that we were talking about before. Um, and we'll get back to that. We'll get back to the Ronan Farrow, Jessica Collins, Joe Biden, DC Madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, Robert Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, Mossad Blackmail Network. We'll get back to that soon. Um, yeah, lawfully saving innocent lives and smiting the synagogue of Satan and their corona mind controlled zombies. So I've been hearing a lot. Yeah, Joe Erickson, yeah, Mossad, MI6, CIA, all in one thing. Yeah, all is one thing or all in one thing. Both are true. Um, that folks are saying that it's like done, like the public, they're out there, they're coming out, and they're dumber than ever. They're just all a bunch of zombies. That's what I'm hearing from folks that are essential workers, that driving on the road is worse than it was 2 months ago, dealing with folks that they're just like out of it, zombies, like they're all on drugs. A lot of them are on drugs, but that their attention span is done. I mean, I blame things like Netflix, that them being told to just sit at home and listen to the news. TikTok, these 8 minute, 8 second mindless clips over and over and over again, and they just can't think straight anymore. We've had it with them, and I wish to get into this. We're saying lawfully saving innocent lives. When we say lawfully saving innocent lives, children are innocent, animals are innocent, humans, they're not innocent. We're always, God made man warlike. We're always in a state of war, and they've gotten everyone to, back down, give up their rights. I want to say that the police in Nova Scotia, and the I guess Canadian National Police, the Mounties, they carried out a drill. I guess that was a week and a half ago. Maybe it was last week. It was one of those fake shootings where they said some guy was driving around on an all day killing spree. Now, what we're telling you is that's BS, and they just banned a bunch of guns today in Canada. So, same old, same old. You're in there's a state of war going on, and what we told you is we've already exposed this. We exposed it to some of the folks who are carrying it out. We went on that Midwestern terrestrial radio show on Revolution Radio, which is full of, well, Dennis Fetcho, paid by the Saudi government. What was it? Jim Fetzer, paid by the Minnesota government, if I'm not mistaken, and Kevin Barrett, paid for by the Wisconsin government. Now, Barrett and Fetzer are uh, college professors, which there's not a, that basically means like degenerate intelligence agent, controlled opposition, and rich person. You get paid a lot of money doing that. Paid a lot of money. I mean, these guys travel around the world, of course. Um, yeah, the general public's done. They can be relied on for nothing, and nothing ought to be expected of them unless you wish to be irrational and illogical. They've had ample opportunity. The general population has had ample opportunity to be anything else other than wastes of oxygen, and they show themselves to be exclusively that, wastes of space. And so that doesn't mean we wish to do to them what our enemy wishes to do, which is wipe them out. We're just saying, like, they don't expect anything of them, and it would be irrational to think that the general population is going to rise up, because it is not going to rise up. Not going to happen. So if that's part of the plan, then of course, uh, your plan's not going to work. If your plan depends on everybody's got to get woke and everybody's got to get active and organized, that's not going to happen. God didn't make it like that. That's not how God made the scenario go down. Because that's not the way the scenario is going down. Oh yeah, Eric Wilkinson's show, Eric Spitfire Wilkinson. I mean, I'm telling you, that guy was whacked out. That's like a dude, either some crazy hyper dude, but total degenerate dirtbag. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um and we told him, when he starts bragging about the first Michigan operation, we're like, yeah, this is like staged in every sort of way. It's blocked and scripted like a movie. I've seen it. I've videotaped it. I've been in the middle of these demonstrations. I've exposed them while they're happening. They're staged. They're photo ops. There are monologues, set up, blocked out for, where the actor shall stand and where the media is told to be to listen to that particular person. That's what's going on. And we saw that again today in Michigan, which is no offense to every single person in Michigan, but Michigan's kind of like Philadelphia to me. It's like the whole state of a Philadelphia. Like, I don't know, something wrong with those folks out there. Something wrong with them. It's the worst freaking accent in the English language. The worst. Beyond anything anywhere else. Even worse, well, the Jewish New York accent. The synagogue of Satan New York accent. But besides that Midwestern Michigan accent, always despised it. But in any event, hey, cheers. Cheers, Michigan. You Yankees. So these Yankees are defaming our battle flag. Why are they waving Confederate flags in Michigan? What, with Trump flags? Why are they walking around with guns? Just like a couple dozen people walking around with guns. Because it's staged, and we told you it was staged, and we told you it was partisan. And when the before anything real ever breaks out, the intelligence agencies, they already got the fake stuff in order to put the clamp down on the real stuff. So that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. That's the way we told you it goes. So you got to know that, whether that makes one angry, whether that makes one, wish something were different. Wishing something is different is is almost a waste of time, unless this one caveat, unless you do something that can be actually carried out to make the difference that you wish for. So these guys are all out there, Trump. They're out there, and like, it's lifted. The ban is lifted, except for all the business owners that don't wish to lose their money. Besides that, I mean, any place public, like it's the beach, it's like, hey, crowded day at the beach. Open the beach, crowded day at the beach. Look at the parks in London. Man, it's like, yeah, people are having a vacation and a holiday. Great. And I'll tell you another thing. This stuff is crazy, where they say only 52% of renters, which I am one, I am a renter, except for I'm not a subset to the contract. If anyone would actually look at that and know what it means. I don't abide or agree with any contract. So even if I signed it with the exactly the way they wish to have me sign something, I don't agree with any freaking contract. I don't agree with any of it. I don't abide by any of it. I know it's all of the devil. I know it's all usury. So I don't agree with any of that. But in any event, there's certain bottom lines, and basically what I know is, in order to have shelter in this society, you got to at least go through a process of payment. So we're now hearing, here's the CNBC headline, only about half of Americans are confident they can pay full rent in May. So if only half of the population can pay their full rent, and I can tell you that having to go from one rental property to another in this past year, in the year 2019, over the last 12 months, it is extortion. It is outrageous what the rents are. And so I'm saying that nobody could have paid their rent before this, because, a lot of folks are, and they can't take care of their families. They can't do anything right. So that's the way the enemy has made it. So if only half the people can say, if only half Americans can afford to pay for shelter, it is verified time to end the usury-based economic system and punish all those who disagree for their treason. Who disagrees with this? If only half of Americans can afford to pay for shelter, it is verified time to end the usury-based economic system and punish all those who disagree for their treason. If you disagree, you don't even have to be doing this. If you disagree with what we are saying, you are guilty of treason. And here's what we're saying. If only half of Americans can afford to pay for shelter, it is verified. It's verified. Who can argue against it? Time to end the usury-based economic system and punish all those who disagree for their treason. So if you see some of the places, like, for example, I still have lots of video that I haven't put out. Maybe I'll put that out there. Enough time has passed, but we'll see. Video over and over and over again, lots of witnesses. So whenever it rained in my old house, it would rain inside the house. We could barely afford that place. And whenever the rain would come on the outside, the rain would come on the inside. Not just in a small corner of the house, a little drip. Rain. Buckets. We would fill buckets of water when it would rain inside the house, in the living room, in the bathroom. So what we're paying for is not acceptable, and no one can afford it. So how is anybody justifying going along with any of this? And whatever is going to stop it? Only military action. Because only military action puts it in place. Only the mercenaries, only those guilty of treason that wear badges, that call them, that wear badges that are about as valid as a junior G-man badge that one would find in a box of Cracker Jacks. I guess that might be a little of a dated reference. But that's about how good these folks' badges are. And they will do anything, any disgusting thing that the guy who makes slightly more money than they do tells them to do. I'm talking about the so-called the cops. That's who I'm talking about. So nobody would go along with anything if they weren't being forced to do so under duress with the threat of death by, if you want to talk about mind-controlled zombies, look at the cops. If you want to talk about low IQ, damaged, warped, violent individuals, mindlessly violent individuals, look at the police. One who can't control themselves at all, look at the cops. They can't control themselves. They kill everything. Kids, dogs, cats, old women, anything that moves, by the thousands here in the United States. I don't know how many times we've been talking. I remember I was talking about that several days on Press TV and Al Alam TV, several days before I was snatched up off the street and framed by the cops that they failed at framing, except for they just stuck me in a cage for a few days, made up a bunch of stuff, and by the time I got to prove everything that they said was a lie, it's like, okay, that's it. It's not it. Y'all are guilty of treason. Yep. 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 David says he had to pay $200 today from a traffic citation in January over a sticker. I paid $200 so they would not take me to jail. Exactly. Yeah. Joe Erickson saying that if you have a high IQ, I mean, that's been documented that if you have a high IQ, they won't hire you as a cop. They won't. And the ones who are smart, they're the most dangerous. They're the ones that know how to play the system. They're the ones that are running this human trafficking, and the other ones are just so immoral and stupid that they'll just go along with anything. Here we go, CNN.com. In some states, in some reopening states, unemployment can pay more than lost jobs. So this is what I've been saying about the oil industry and their bailouts, and the airline industry and their bailouts, and now the certain citizens, like, they have to get paid more in order to keep the system going because they couldn't get paid at a legitimate job. The oil industry, even if the price of a barrel of oil were to quadruple overnight, even with the largest spikes in the price of a barrel of oil in the history of the price of a barrel of oil, and that happened twice in the past year, they could not come close to being able to pay their operating costs and without a government bailout. Come on, Max. Come on. Come on. Come on. All right. Sorry. Okay. So, what did they have to do? They had to start printing out these trillions of dollars. The Federal Reserve is running the stock market. Every corporation is exclusively backed by this endless quantitative easing that the Federal Reserve Bank is doing at 0% interest rates. So the corporations could have never, they're in so much debt, they could have never paid it off. Even if the business was running at an optimal level, they could never even keep their head above water. They'd be underwater, even at the most optimal operations. So that's why they have to just shut everything down. And then they give them more money than they would ever get at their best operating, I guess the optimal operations of their business in every way. For example, if there was record demand for oil and there was record demand for Starbucks coffee, and there was record demand for all these corporations, record demand for flying in a tin can, around the earth. If there was record demand for that, these corporations could never make as much money as they're getting bailed out by the government right now. Because they don't have to pay for workers. I mean, they don't have to pay for workers, and the states are paying for workers. The states are paying more in some states. Some reopening states, they say unemployment can pay more than lost jobs. Why have a job? And why am I not getting this? Why do I not get a bunch of money for doing nothing? And who's getting money for doing nothing? Yeah, and Clifford is saying, yeah, when you get 1,000, they get 1 billion. So it doesn't really matter if these guys are getting like more than their low paying job that there's no reason for. Isn't this funny, Cliff and David and everyone else that has been paying attention, when we said, hey, they've got to shut down the schools. They just can't keep running the schools like that. And then they shut down the schools. They've got to, shut down the operations of this thing or that thing. It's just got to be shut down. And then they shut it down. So why is all this happening? Why have any jobs ever if one can get paid more now for not having a job than having a job? If this can happen now, why can't it happen later? I mean, everything is a fraud. Everything is a fraud. And then only half of Americans are confident that they can pay rent in full. If you can't pay for shelter, then the system must exclusively, I mean, this is worse than any system ever. What was it? Let's see. Fed suggests tough road ahead as it pledges to insulate economy. They're just printing out all the money for no purpose. The oil industry could have never, ever made as much money even with record demand, even quadrupling and by 10 and 100 times increasing the price of a barrel of oil. I mean, it was at negative. It was at below zero last week. The price of a barrel of oil was worth less than nothing. So if it was increased by 100%, the oil industry could have never made the amount of money that it's making just by the Federal Reserve Bank and the Bank for International Settlements quantitative easing. Let's see. How the Federal Reserve is transferring wealth from the middle class to the wealthy. Duh. the masks are really, I mean, they got to go. First, oil prices went negative. Now the shale oil industry is going to shut down. That's latimes.com. Okay, more headline. Dozens of dead bodies found in U-Haul trucks outside New York City funeral home. I mean, business as usual. Like, I'm really not impressed by this coronavirus um, death toll or anything like that. This is, what's happening at the local nursing homes. They do that all the time. I used to run a home healthcare business called Always There Senior Care. I owned it. I used to own businesses, and so I know this particular Canterbury what do you call it, nursing center, rehabilitation center, where they've had almost, well, I don't know. At one point, it was half the deaths in all of Virginia were at this one place. That's where they go to kill old. That's where old people are sent to be killed and raped. Because I mean, you can just do a Google search on both of those things and find out that that's what goes on at Canterbury. And that place has changed its name 3 times in the past 5 years. Actually, I guess it's been 6 years now. So, but anyway, it doesn't matter what they got the same things in every town. It's not like one town's worse than the other. That's what's going on. Here's Bloomberg.com. Rent is due again, and missing payments have landlords. No, not landlords. Usury degenerates have usury degenerates worried. Okay. Okay. Hey, yeah, check out there's a video called The Maxwell's Broken Promise, and it's promise spelled PROMIS, and basically that was intelligence software, and it gets into Robert Maxwell's connection with Mossad, and of course that's Ghislaine Maxwell's father, who was also, I guess his front was that he was some sort of media magnate in the UK. Check that out. We've covered that ad nauseum. ADL and other Jewish NGOs, Jewish fake Jews, not real Jews, NGOs loot small business bailout while Americans get shafted. This Russia insider. Ignoring hospital policy, Vice President Pence tours Mayo Clinic without mask. So again, this is more of just like hey, if this guy is not gonna like go in where this coronavirus is with a mask on, why does anybody wear a mask at any point, anytime? Yeah, yeah, that's right, Matthew Collins. That's the purpose of the Fed. They're padding the COVID-19 death toll in every way they can. Clifford says, yeah, absolutely. Let me check and see if anybody's called in. No, nobody's called in. If you want to call, if anybody wishes to call in, we're going to go through the headlines because they just keep getting more and more ridiculous. The U.S. plans to lend $500 billion to large companies. It won't require them to preserve jobs or limit executive pay. Of course. 43% of small businesses say they'll be forced to close permanently if they don't get help soon, survey says. That's marketwatch.com. I say good to that. Highly decorated dare cop arrested for running an enormous child porn ring. And this guy was using his job to produce and rape children. And also he was videotaping that and distributing the videos. And like we always say, who's running this? The police and the intelligence agencies. That's one of their low-level minions that got thrown under the bus. That's from the the freethoughtproject.com. Highly decorated dare cop arrested for running an enormous child porn ring. And if you read the article, it's a lot worse than the than the headline. Yeah, Iran. The Trump's doing war drum beating for war with Iran. This Pentagon releasing UFO videos. That's the ultimate misdirection they always pull out. And they also like to show off and brag about their Operation Bluebeam, which I remember talking about that on terrestrial radio back in 2012 and 2013. Operation Bluebird. Excuse me, Bluebeam. Um, I often do that. Oh, here's one I made a video on. Um, uh, Satanic doctor giving men estrogen for coronavirus. Synagogue of Satan doctor, I believe that's Sharon Nachman, but it's Dr. Nachman, discusses how they are giving estrogen to young men to treat them for coronavirus, which we already established is a mind virus because corona means crown. And this is a mind virus. Um, let's see. Interesting. Macron is supposed to roll back the lockdown on the day Saturn goes into retrograde. Um, yeah, David Dotrieve says, the TV is flooded with UFO propaganda. It's getting old and dull. Yeah, it is really old and dull. I mean, I've seen in videotape so many different things in the sky that is like, maybe it'll get 4 or 5,000 views, but it's remarkable. But you see it all. I see it all the time. Um, let's see. What university? What university, Matthew Collins? Matthew Collins saying something about a university run by James Simmons. I think that's what he's saying. Chabad Lubavitch, hedge fund manager. Okay. Oh, here's the one that really makes me sick. And we're going to, this is 280,000 chickens in barn near Cirrus, uh, uh, killed in barn fire near Cirrus. Owner says um, they're doing like this insurance fraud where they're lighting their Stony Brook University. Right, right. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, yeah. So Matthew Collins is saying it's Stony Brook University where they're giving young men um, estrogen for the coronavirus, and it's owned by Chabad Lubavitcher, and it's being promoted by this Dr. Nachman lady, I guess. Um, Okay, 280,000 chickens killed in barn fire near Cirrus, owner says. So that's insurance fraud. They're basically just killing all these animals. Um, okay, so Matthew Collins says James Simmons donates a lot of money to that school. Okay, thank you. That's good information. Thank you, Matthew Collins. Um, so let's read a little bit of this if we can, and then we'll get to more bond buying by the Fed. Um, yeah, yeah. David is commenting about them letting violent criminals out of the jails. The thing with here in Virginia is basically when they were saying that they were going to let people out, they weren't actually letting anybody out. So it was just a big misdirection, almost like everything. This is Ceres, California, but it's happening all over the country with these barns catching fire. Multiple firefighters respond to a large fire at a chicken barn near Ceres. The fire happened at a 3-story chicken house. So this is insurance fraud. Um, Officials said the chicken house is used to house egg-laying chickens. Chief Eric, whatever his name is, of Keys Fire Protection District said every chicken in the building was killed, while the fire district said the number was between 500 and 650,000, but the barn owner says 280,000. So who knows which one of those liars to believe? But there we go. Yeah, and of course, yeah, they're despicable. Every cop is a degenerate waste of oxygen, and they need to repent before God. They serve Satan exclusively, and if anyone disagrees with that, they're an absolute freaking dumb moron and don't know anything. Okay, hey, we're gonna get to Jessica Collins. Um, she called the show. We'll do a sound check. Jessica, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear. Let me just read one more headline and then we'll get right to you. U.S. Fed extends help on bond buying to smaller cities and counties. So basically, the Fed's backstopping everything like they always do, like is their um, only purpose for being the lender of last resort. And now they're going to start buying up equities, and they're already really doing that because whenever they print more and more cash, it just goes straight into equities. That's why you're seeing the best month ever since 1980 something last month, while there's the record high unemployment since the Great Depression because nothing makes sense. But anyway, not anyway that's not important. That's extremely important. However, we're going to move on to another important topic, and that's our discussion with Jessica Collins, who's on the line and coming through loud and clear. Jessica, since we're in the middle of the show, what are your thoughts on what we've covered thus far? And I guess particularly with what we discussed about your case and your life, I should say. Um, yeah, go ahead. I guess that's not a
Yeah,
great segue.
I heard you talking about the call to Rowan Farrow, and I didn't hear you play it. Did you play it?
I have not played it, but I shall start loading it up right now. I was kind of saving that for like the end of the show. But yeah, we'll get to that now. And actually, yeah, we're getting this is a perfect time. So yeah, let me get to that. And thanks. That's a good.
Yeah, I'm getting nervous because May 18th is my trial date, and that's coming up in a little over 2 weeks, and I just don't know. I don't trust them to abide by the law because they haven't been at all. So it makes me really nervous. I just went on my old website, which is what I was trafficked through, and it it looks like on the day that I was released from jail, the site has been altered, and all the photographs of me are gone.
Do you have screenshots of those?
The old site is they're absent, they're missing,
Right,
they're
right.
gone.
I know, but do you have any sort of record of what it looked like before?
I don't think I do. They've gone into. I've also documented that how there was about 1,000 some odd photos that disappeared from my iCloud account
Right.
within the past few months, and I put that on Twitter. I can show. I'm going to put on Twitter to show this website. There's no photographs of me. They're all gone,
I've seen
and
them on
that the
there.
account was accessed. Yeah, they're gone now.
Well,
They're
what I'm
gone now.
saying is
But you did see them before.
I did. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Didn't you see the photos of me in New Jersey, me in Washington D.C.?
Yes.
There was
I mean, I don't know you.
yeah, those are all gone.
I saw the website. You sent it to me. I looked
Yeah,
at it.
they're gone.
You and I
Yeah,
were
they're gone.
discussing. Yeah.
And I looked right. I looked through my email and I saw a odd notification from it was done through a Wix website builder. I got a notification on January 29th that it's very oddly worded, as if a lawyer had worded it, to say that your site was accidentally accessed, um, and it was in no way meant to be malicious, but it absolutely was, and that's the exact same day that I was released from jail.
Yeah. Yep. I've seen it. I know it
I just
existed.
found that.
Yeah, I attempted to
Yeah.
look at it
It says,
before. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So now all those photos are gone. I just was accessing this as your show was going on, and saw the email that came through, and it says, due to human error, an accidental received. I'm sorry, you accidentally received a reset password email. This email was sent from Wix and is not malicious content in any way, but it's obvious that that's most likely the day that they, hacked the site, or, the day while I was in jail.
Right.
I'm glad that you've seen that site before, so you can attest that there were photos there. And
Yeah, it definitely was.
Um, but that's what they do repeatedly, and it does make me sound, um, uncredible to say, well, I had this and that, but it's now missing because they literally are hacking my computers and my account online.
Certainly.
And it's like, there's not a lot I can do about it. I can't, put everything onto hard drives like it people would expect. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Oh no, it's certainly not. I mean, I know that from experience. I mean, I do
And
the
most of them
yeah,
are, yeah.
I do the best I can
Most of them
do.
are missing. And I found it really odd that they allowed the photos of the woman, I believe, the escort Nikki French, who was trafficked alongside me in D.C. They allowed me to keep those photos. They allowed her old website, NikkiFrench.com, to stay on Wayback Page.
That's the one that looks exactly like Melania Trump.
She looks exactly like Melania Trump. She was trafficked right alongside me in D.C. She was highly, highly, highly promoted artificially. Um, and, underwent surgery. I posted some of those photos that looked the most like her it looks like when she maybe first came over, she was not looking, as polished.
Mm-hmm.
And they allowed that. So I think that's intentional. I just find it interesting that they did not delete those photos, because they did delete other photos.
Right. Right. I
Melania,
mean, they're just getting yeah.
would have been helpful.
Well, do you want to play? You want to see if we can hear the my
Yeah.
call with Ronan Farrow, not yours.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I contacted Rowan again because I forgot to tell him. He was asking me for evidence. Where's your evidence? Where's the proof? And I'm like, well, there's bank records and flight records, and but he didn't ask for any more information about it, or attempt to try and do any type of investigation into those aspects where the actual proof is. But I contacted him today and said, I forgot to tell you, I do have a photo of Hunter Biden's lower half and an audio recording of him in my apartment playing guitar, and he speaks, and you can hear his voice.
Mm-hmm.
But he hasn't responded, so he doesn't seem to be very interested. Actually, I do believe he was just contacting me to be able to say that he did contact me.
Right, but also he gave you advice too. He was giving you advice as well. So it wasn't just for one thing because yeah.
Same advice. Yeah, I'm sitting on a lot of this information, and I really regret it, especially with this trial coming up in 2 weeks. I'm scared to death to go there with our law enforcement officers, who are only protecting, the crimes they've committed and
Right.
covering those up, and
Right.
not have everything, all of these recordings of the BBC reporter, the Guardian reporter, the New York Post I put out, who was through Storyful, but they write for the New York Post, and a bunch of other ones, I think the Washington Post as well. But all of that I'm still sitting on, and I've only got 2 weeks and not enough time to get it out there. So it makes me really nervous.
Well, I mean, again, when you say I saw the website before it was taken down. Um, so I can attest to that. I mean, I saw it.
Right.
I saw it,
Yeah,
and I'm not making the
What you
fact
were
up that
talking
I
about,
saw it. Go ahead.
yeah, you were saying that you were talking about what suggestions Rowan had for me, and it was
Yeah.
counseling, which is exactly what I've gotten all the way through all of this abuse by government. Was instead of any kind of actual remedy where anybody else would expect financial compensation is really the only way they can remedy any of these damages, but they don't. They um, when I first wore a wire in and turned in a government employee who was threatening my child um, with removal by CPS if I didn't, perform um, sexual acts on him. Um, they left my testimony out that I was claiming that is true. So that was in my testimony, but they left that out. And then instead of doing anything right by me, they had me see a psychiatrist who put me on psych meds, which Ed Saul from True News said was used to keep me docile and to be able to traffic me easier.
Oh yeah.
So, and that's been the suggestion of all of the reporters. Their only, uh, you know, their only suggestion is to get counseling, which is ridiculous.
Well,
I don't need to talk
Jess,
about
Jess, let's
stuff.
get
The only reason I speak about it in public is because they are lying.
okay. Let's turn this around and really get to the bottom line about that suggestion, because we already covered that in this case that is being carried out against you, which is the only evidence that the investigators are even willing to talk about seems that the only crime was actually committed against you, um, and we covered this when the Commonwealth's attorney in Accomack County, that is named Spencer Morgan, uh, stated that they, because of the things that you're writing, because of the claims that you're making, um, he says you need a psychological evaluation. He believes that you are paranoid and delusional. So, as I was saying, in regard to Commonwealth's attorney, Virginia magistrate, government employee, servant of the people, allegedly should be, ought to be. That's what he swore an oath to be. Spencer Morgan, he's not a doctor. The reason he stated that you need a psychological evaluation is an incorrect opinion about the style of your writing. And now, this other individual who I talked to, I discussed something with, I'm about to play our conversation, Ronan Farrow. Is this guy a shrink? Is he a doctor? Is he qualified to give um uh a psychological diagnosis and then give advice, give medical advice over the phone to somebody he allegedly called to do his job, and you do your job, which is, expose this criminal operation, and his job is to investigate the allegations and do investigative reporting, and he didn't even ask the most logical questions like, do you have bank records? Do you have receipts? Do you have a location where this took place? He doesn't ask any of that, but he does definitely have the time to tell you that you ought to give some sort of medical. He does have the time to give you some sort of medical advice. Excuse me, stumbling over my words.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah, this is how they treat victims. They don't
so
make they don't make it right. They just re-victimize them and try to place the blame on the victim rather
right,
than take responsibility for what they've done. To
right,
be honest, and then they hide evidence. And, yeah,
okay. So the point is,
it's all the same. It's the same pattern over and over by them.
okay. So he doesn't do this, and then he says he's going to do further investigation. Then he says, more like, the only thing I really have to say to you is get counseling. Counseling. I mean, counseling. What's counsel? I mean, counsel. Like, to counsel. Look up that. I mean, isn't this public counseling because you're upset that you don't get to say what you want, and that these folks aren't properly investigating you? The gatekeepers and the media aren't properly investigating. So you are calling this show, this is therapeutic or whatever. Like, who's to say? What kind of counseling? What does that mean? What exactly do you wish me to do? That would be my question to him if he was telling me I needed counseling. How so? Are you qualified to make that assessment? Are you calling me to tell me I need counseling because you are in the case with you, Jessica? He didn't ask proper questions, but he did state that. So why did he state that? I mean, I know why. You know why. You already stated why. But is there any logical or rational reason? No, there does not seem to be. So, Jessica,
Just discredit.
obviously to discredit. Right. So, I just want to point out that this is not, that there's not just smoke, there's smoke and fire with your accusations and your claims. They're not really accusations, they're claims. So, Jessica, it seems as if, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've told me a lot of information. You and I have exchanged a lot of information about how you were trafficked. And from my understanding and what I've seen and heard, and I'm talking about what's publicly available now, it seems like the majority of the individuals that were involved in trafficking you are not just government agents, but work for intelligence agencies. Is that verified? Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate. Politicians, actors, a lot of, I assume, government agents, State Department, Department of Defense, CIA, um, military,
Military
almost pretty much everybody
intelligence.
that I could find. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
And so there's one individual in particular that when you and I first started talking, you stated this individual was your handler, and his regular job is as an intelligence agent for the Air Force. However, in addition to that, he admittedly does work for the Central Intelligence Agency. Is that is correct? Am I wrong?
That's correct. Yeah. No, you're correct.
Okay. And this person's name, it's one that can dispute, if they've properly investigated your story, that there is a known individual, his first and last name is out there, and who he works for and him admitting who he's worked for is known. For example, I don't go on Good Morning America and the Colbert Report or whatever they call that show now and say, I'm an investigative reporter, but I'm reporting that, and we're covering the same story. I know, I've seen it. This guy admitting that he's worked for the CIA, and he is seemingly your handler. If one wishes to come up with a better word than that, there are many things he does that makes him your handler, but that this is verified fact. And so, they can't say, like, where's your proof? Okay, you have proof of certain things, and then there's proof of others but you can't access certain proof. But this proof that you're being trafficked by the Central Intelligence Agency and other, the Maryland State Police, the DC Madam, which was basically just that Epstein honeypot operation, that that happened. I guess, what was it? That was outed 12 years before the larger Epstein operation. It's it's
Right.
it's common knowledge. Right. It's common knowledge. Okay, so about 14 years. Right. Um it's common knowledge to anyone. And so that's why I asked Ronan Farrow certain questions. I did want to give that background, to that there were certain questions that he wouldn't even answer, because he's not even going to answer how he knows about you. Because if he says, "Oh, I looked at her Twitter," I mean, because it's like, "Oh, well, this person let me know, and then I looked at her. Oh, so then you saw this information. Oh, so then you saw that information. So then why are you just asking these throwaway questions that don't mean anything?" Oh, okay, okay. And so we can get your voice on the camera and go like, "Hey, however long you allow me to talk to you, that's going to be it, and I'm going to get that out there." How do you even know? Okay, and hopefully we're going to be able to keep Jessica on the line, because the show on Blog Talk is about to end, but it should be all right, um, because we're already on, she's already on the line. Okay, so let's play that real quick, and hopefully we can get everybody's thoughts afterwards.
Seconds.
All right, so it's loading up. Okay, hopefully folks can hear this. All right, the phone's ringing. It's as loud as it can be. Apologies if you can't hear it. Listen close.
Hello.
Hi, may I speak to Ronan Farrow, please?
May I ask who's calling?
Yeah, I'm a journalist. Well, I'm a man, but I'm a journalist that is investigating the connections between the DC Madam and the Epstein Mossad network. And I've been following the case of Jessica Collins, and I heard you just called and asked her a few questions, and was wondering if you knew about some of the background of the story, and how you found out about her.
Purely, can you talk off the record?
Certainly not.
Oh, okay. Then, look, I don't comment on ongoing reporting or reporting I haven't published. And that's, what I say in every story that I'm looking at or ultimately not looking at. You can look at any of my public comments.
Certainly. Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm looking into it is because of the obvious connection with the intelligence agencies running these operations, and my experience with Mossad, and different elements of how basically the whole system is a fraud run by, I guess, Mossad at the very top through these blackmail networks. So yeah, hey, I appreciate your time, and God bless. All right.
Take care.
All right, you do the same. All right. So again, I'm just saying what's established. Jess, can you still hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Good. They'll probably give us another like 15 or 20 minutes at least then. Good. So what are your thoughts on the call? Just with stating that clearly I'm making the verified point that one needs to look into the background of the intelligence agencies in your case, and that was That was the main point I was making, and that how do you know if you found out this information by looking at her Twitter account? Like, he wouldn't even say how he knows about you, what information he knows about you. He's got to know that these calls are going to be recorded and put out there, or he's not done any of his homework. Correct, Jessica?
Yeah, yeah. I believe they know everything that's going on. They know where all the proof of all this is, and you know, I know they know, and it's just they're doing the same thing. It's just deny and discredit and hide evidence.
But again, Jessica, they're not denying. They're giving a non-denial denial.
That's true. You're right. Yep.
Right. So
Yeah.
so I'm hip to their lingo because they can't deny it because it's just too there's too much of the information out there. So that's why they can't go like, well, I'm sorry. I think you're 100% a lie, but hey, I just randomly, I'm like the number one guy, born a millionaire, Frank Sinatra and Mia Farrow's son, allegedly, Woody Allen and Mia Farrow's son. I'm just this famous, Rosemary's Baby that rolls out there and just randomly calls somebody to let them know, ask a couple stupid questions, and let them know that they need counseling. So I wasn't going to let him not be on the record being told that the background of this story involving you is the intelligence agencies, and that's what runs everything, that everything's a fraud. You're a fraud, and who pays you, Ronan Farrow, are the same intelligence agencies that run the human trafficking network. And occasionally, they pay Ronan Farrow to, like, I don't know, humiliate some of the millionaires that and billionaires that are involved. But the operation keeps going. All this guy's interested in is naming certain names. And that is a function of the intelligence agencies self-disciplining. Jesse, you following me? Is everybody following me?
Yeah.
Jesse, okay. What do you think about that? I mean, that's not my hypothesis. That's what I see happening. That's my viewpoint, I should say. I guess to be exact. What do you think about that viewpoint?
Well, I'm not really sure what you mean by self-disciplining.
I mean,
Who in particular, or why they would do that? Why would
well, okay, let me
whether it's
explain then.
online?
Let me explain then. Let me explain then. So when Ronan Farrow takes down Woody Allen a notch and takes down Harvey Weinstein a notch, that's they're part of this operation, but they're not directing the operation. The operation keeps going on. So when any of these operations, they're going to take out operators. It's like any espionage or gangster movie or gang related operation at any point. Once someone's purpose has been served, then they are expendable. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about self-discipline. When Ronan Farrow goes out there and says, Harvey Weinstein did this and Woody Allen did that. The operation is going to continue. Jeffrey Epstein did this and Harvey Weinstein did that. Fine. The operation continues. They give the simulation that there are folks investigating. Somebody's paying the price, even though they aren't. Even though most everybody thinks Jeffrey Epstein is not dead, didn't kill himself, but we found out that if Harvey Weinstein was in jail for anything that he did, if in fact that was the case, that they let him out for the coronavirus, and that Woody Allen is still married to his daughter. So and still rich. So these
Okay.
none of this whistleblowing ever does anything except for give the false impression that there is a investigative media that is going to bring a stop or even curtail these intelligence agency run human trafficking operations. And so what the intelligence agencies do is population control. They use human trafficking. They use the food system. They use money distribution. They use the media. They use everything to their advantage, but it's still part of the same overall intelligence operations, and they self discipline. They will turn on their own to varying levels. And some of these individuals may even agree to be turned on. They all basically, if you agree to the system, you know that's going to be the case. And the fact is, as I stated to Ronan Farrow regarding your case, Jessica Lee Collins, and all the others, that is the intelligence agencies exclusively running these human trafficking operations. Period. Thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I just, I didn't know what else to do but to become a whistleblower. There was nothing else I could do but that. And even though it's all been covered up, I don't know what else I could do. So that's about it. I mean, they have it all like completely, hands up so that there is nothing I can do. You know,
But what I'm
even
saying
like
is,
with this court case, there's nothing I can do but go stand there and hope to God they don't arrest me.
well, let's get to yeah, let's get to what you sent to as a memorandum of understanding. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you put out there.
Yeah,
A point of order, as you and I have
yeah,
discussed.
right.
Everything
Yeah,
that you do,
I started to say,
go ahead, Jess.
go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All right, I shall then. Okay,
Oh, okay, you go ahead.
sorry. Um, So I basically was telling you that this is a point of order. The fact that you are a living, breathing human being and one of the people, and therefore you have standing over any two-dimensional ecclesiastical satanic uh you know uh administrative uh, entity that they call a court system or a legal system or the bar association or anything like that. That the point of order is basically like you guys can make whatever kind of procedure you like, but I'm a living, breathing human being, a lawful man in the, I'm a lawful man in the male form. Jessica, you're a lawful man in the female form, created by God, and therefore these courts who are doing nothing but messing up, making false accusations, uh, prosecuting you with no evidence, running a complete kangaroo court, that you're stating to them, no, that's not the way it goes. I'm going to make my stand. And you sent them a memorandum of understanding. Even if you didn't title it that, it is a point of order, even if you did not explicitly state that it's a point of order. Can you tell me about what you wrote to them? And I'm trying to get on Twitter right now in order to see if I can get the tweet blown up enough for me to read it out, or maybe you can. But anyway, you wrote it. You came up with it. can you just talk to the listeners and viewers about about what you presented to your servants at the court?
Yeah, I posted that on Twitter, and it stated that the judge had told me that I was not going to be allowed to video record the trial, and I told him, no, you're wrong. I am going to be able to video record the trial. I am going to do that because of the crime that you're committing. Um, I told him, that I order his orders null and void, and I hold him in contempt for the loss of my life and liberty against my will in this criminal trespass. I corrected him when he said that I agreed to have Attorney Miller withdrawn because he made that statement and it is untrue, and told him that I did not agree for his withdrawal. Explained to him that I have a recording of Attorney Miller on the internet that says that Accomack County Sheriff's Office is corrupt, that they are crooked, and they operate under a very thin blue line. I told him I'll make the public aware of his crimes. I told him he has no right over me or my inherent rights. I'm not his slave, and I'm not his subject. There was no crime committed by me. The only crime that's being committed is by this county and state official in retaliation for, publicly speaking about my trafficking ordeal and just naming the individuals who I've trafficked to. I went on to tell him, that these individuals involved in this case are the ones guilty of crimes, that they are tampering with evidence, that they have made false accusations, hang up the phone on me, have hidden evidence and proof of the actual crime that was committed on me. I told them the list of their violations of law are much longer than what I have listed here. I told him that I will have them swear on a Bible. I'm going to bring Jerry Falwell's Bible and have them swear in front of God that they are going to be prosecuting the victim of a crime under oath and sworn on a Bible, and told them, that it's not my fault that they don't understand and that they're not obeying their oath of office, that I will record and broadcast the trial on the internet. And I asked, I did ask them, I actually told them, is this order understood by magistrates of this county? I require a written answer. And they have not sent a written answer. So I spent today chasing the judge down, and he spent the day, I guess, running from me. So I sent him more orders and insisted that he respond, and I dismissed the case myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, folks can go on Jessica's Twitter page, Jessica Lee Collins, Leigh, Jessica Lee Collins. They can go to my Twitter page, Chris Dorsey, and you can see this and read it and see if it makes sense to you, because it makes complete sense to me. Um, we've covered this. I agree that there is an attempt to cover this stuff up, but it can't be covered up because I don't know how many people, have like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have seen your information about this case, Jessica, and as a broader sense, in a broader sense, even more have seen and been aware of your information that you've put out there. So it's not covered up. I mean, it's covered up. I mean, it's not like when they removed that website, or they removed pictures from the website. Um,
Right.
like that's what I was talking to you about. You know, days ago about when they removed my videos. I, I saw them. I know that they were out there. You know, in some cases, when they removed my channel, you know, my first YouTube channel, millions of people viewed that channel. Millions of people already watched the videos that are now gone. Like, you know, just because they remove something doesn't mean that somebody can't. I know it's there. So they're just hiding the truth. That's all they're doing. They're attempting to hide the truth, but they can't. It was there. You didn't take it down. My videos were there. Millions of people saw them before they were taken down. Then I made another YouTube channel where millions of people saw those videos. Then they were taken down. Then I made a third. Then I made a fourth. Then I made a fifth, etc., etc., etc. It does not matter. They are really scared. I wish to talk about, you know, this in context with the with Ronan Farrow. They want everything off the record. They want everything out of the public view. If they're doing something good in any way, why are they making such an effort to hide everything that they're doing and to threaten those who are attempting to not hide it? Now, they're just making it difficult because you went into the court and you ordered a hearing, and then the guy said you required a hearing, and I heard the recording of the judge, and he said, I you can't come in here and make demands. You can't come in here and demand that we have a hearing. Yeah, no doubt. You can't.
Right.
You can't demand. That's why you required. That's why he had to change the word from the word you used, require, to the word he used to wrongly and incorrectly um misrepresent what you did. And then he complied. He had to hear. He's playing games. Yeah, you can't demand anything. It's impossible for you. You can only require things. Um, let me see. Got to.
Yeah. Demand says the definition is asking, especially with authority,
Yeah. How about require?
according to Merriam-Webster. Yeah, and you know, they at first told me I couldn't record, and then I told them I'm going to record, and they allowed it. And then they told me, well, I can't video record, so I told them I'm going to video record. And they haven't objected, they haven't, you know, raised any issue with that, with me telling them that that is what I'm going to do. And then as soon as I grabbed the recording device to leave the courtroom, he said, oh, by the way, you can't air that on the internet. And I said, no, I'm sorry, but I will.
Well, the funny thing to me is,
I told him I will do that if I want to.
You can transcribe it. I mean, air it. Air. What does air mean? Air. And it's funny that they're.
That word. Yeah.
It's fun. Oh, okay. Yeah. Then that's. But it's funny that he waits until you've turned off the camera, or excuse me, not the camera, the audio recorder, to make the statement that you can't do that, because he was afraid that you were gonna get him to say that you can't do that. These guys, all I can say is, check out what she wrote, and does it make any sense? Do these guys have any standing? I don't believe they do. I don't believe they have any standing.
No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole thing is just an absolute mockery of a mockery, and it's just
Yeah,
it's and I am
it's really disturbing what they're willing to put somebody who's been through what I have, losing my daughter and everything else, and they're still willing to, you know, subject me to more and more of their torture.
no doubt. Sorry.
And I expect that's the way it's going to be for the whole country, you know, with the coronavirus. They're really just not going to care about the abuse of the people, and probably inflict
Well,
more
they obviously care.
severely.
Okay, they obviously care, or they would just do everything without, and not worry about hiding what they're doing. They go through a lot. They go through. They twist themselves in pretzels to misrepresent what they're doing, make themselves seem like the good guy, make other folks seem like the bad guy. So I think it's inaccurate to say they just don't care because they're doing all these machinations. So,
Yeah, I agree with you, but I mean, they don't care about the abuse and the you know,
well, what do I always
the
tell you about the abuse? When you tell them that you are being abused by them, it's not like they're like, "Oh, that hurts us." They love it. That's what they wish to do. That's why they're in that position. They cannot be in
right.
that position unless they're driven to torture and abuse. They have to do it
Yeah,
because that's the
it's
way
a
they
really
are as human
difficult
beings.
way to think.
Repeat that
Sorry,
again.
I said it's a really difficult way for me to think. Um, you
Right?
know, to treat them the way they're treating me. It's not in my being. I
No,
treat
no, no,
people
no,
the
no,
way
no,
I
no.
want to be treated, with respect. Yeah, and they can't be treated that way.
Right, right. But it's not like you're doing the same thing to them. That's not one doesn't necessarily follow the other. That's not what I'm.
Right.
All I'm saying is that's the way they are. Just like at the beginning of the show when we were discussing that the masses of human beings are good for nothing and will never be any different. That does not mean our enemy says they're good for nothing, and so let's kill them all. We say they're good for nothing, so don't expect anything different. Don't expect them to do the right thing. Don't expect them to rise up. Don't expect them to have respect for themselves. Don't expect them to do anything but be fooled by obvious mockery. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying don't expect the court to be full of anything else but degenerate, lying scumbags. Don't expect that they're going to have a conscience and feel bad about what they're doing because that's what they've dedicated their lives to.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. It's just extremely difficult for me to understand
I don't
anybody
understand it,
be that way.
and I don't wish anybody to understand it. I wish everyone to comprehend it, and everyone shall not comprehend it. But
Yeah,
those who should comprehend it, ought to comprehend it. And yes, it is difficult, but for me, it's very easy because it would be stupid for me to know what I know and to think in any other way. I know this. I
yeah,
can
you're right.
read I can read between the lines. When somebody's is like, attempting to throw shade on every bit of information that you put out there and say like, "Oh, well, where's your proof? What kind of proof do you want?" You can't just go like, "Where's your proof? I give you 2 seconds. 1, 2, no proof. You need counseling." oh, okay, here's the proof.
Yep.
Here's the proof, and I'm going to tell you what the proof is and ask you first, what do you know? Because the most important amount of proof has already been put out there. Do you know the background is all regarding intelligence agencies in the Washington, D.C. metro area and involving government and corporate officials, especially the celebrity kind? That information's out there. And the verified quote unquote handler, and if anybody wishes to have a better word, has verifiably and admittedly worked for the Central Intelligence Agency, and his regular gig, according to what this guy says and what is known about this public figure. I mean, I would say he's a public figure. He's a government official. Is that this guy, your handler, is not only CIA but also Air Force intelligence. So we're not going to let and DARPA.
And DARPA.
So,
And I put up a recording that he watched one of the other DC Madam victims have 2 strokes in one evening, and that we were both in the middle of writing books when our lives were destroyed, and both became disabled in their sense of that word.
right. All right. Well, I guess we did pretty much a whole hour of a whole hour, 2 hours of free show. But yeah, go ahead, Jess.
Thanks for having me on. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for discussing the issues, the current stuff that's going on with my cases.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome, Jessica, and thanks for informing the public. Thanks for appearing on the People of God radio, and I guess this is also a video broadcast, even though we're doing it on through all enemy outlets. But yeah, I mean, thanks for informing the public and standing up and and uh, and I should say maintaining the standing of a lawful people, a lawful man in the female form. So, all right. Well, I guess we're gonna close it out tonight, and peace and God bless. There's nothing more to say. We said it all. And until next week, we'll say more. All right. See you then.